The 7 Zones, Part 2. Chapter 5. The Broadcast. The screen lit up, red logo pulsing like a heart about to burst. The roar of the crowd, thousands of voices tearing through the studio. Welcome back to the 7 Zones. The host, as always, stood in a perfectly pressed suit, his smile stretched tight like a puppet's. And today, we've got some truly explosive updates. He stepped forward, staring straight into the camera, like he was looking each viewer dead in the eyes. Zones 3 and 4 are breaking records, up to 30 runners in each. Some of them are banding together, refusing to move on. Survival colonies. Question is, how long can they last? Studio applause. On screen, drone footage. Dozens of figures gathered around fires, barricades made of old cars, camouflage nets strung between trees. But Zones 5, 6, and 7, a different story altogether. Out there they run alone. Out there, it smells like despair. He paused. The screen shifted to a different feed. And of course, the incident in Zone 1. The host's voice dropped an octave. For the first time in show history, a runner successfully eliminated a hunter, took his gear, took his ride. The studio erupted. Footage played, a shadowed figure emerging from the tree line. Caption, John, ex-Marine, considered dangerous. He's now in Zone 2, and guess what? The hunter assigned to that zone has declared a personal vendetta. He's hunting only him. Close up on the host, eyes locked on the camera, sharp, cold, controlled fury. Yesterday alone, 5 dead runners, 1 hunter. That's a first, but... He shrugged, smiled. Still within the rules. Another burst of applause. So keep watching, keep rooting, and most of all, keep enjoying. The camera pulled upward. Cue the credits. The crowd's roar mixed with a tense musical sting. Then, transition to live field footage. Chapter 6. The Trap. Evening was closing in. John and Mark moved along a dirt road, not fast, but alert, listening to every rustle in the trees. They'd already covered more than 30 kilometers, and their bodies were starting to push back. The sun hadn't fully set yet, but it was leaning toward the horizon, casting the forest in a soft amber glow. Everything ahead was quiet. Too quiet. Hold up, John said, raising a hand. You hear that? Mark froze. From somewhere deep in the woods, off to the left, came a low, pitiful moan. Not a scream, not a cry for help. More like the broken murmur of someone who'd stopped expecting rescue. Someone's alive, Mark whispered. Or close to it. Or it's a trap, John said flatly. Still, they veered off the road. Both had weapons ready, Mark with his knife, John with his pistol. They moved slowly, stepping only on moss to avoid dry twigs. The moaning got louder. Then came soft sobbing, just beyond the bushes. Who's there? John called out, low but firm, staying behind cover. Oh God, help me. The voice was male, young, shaking. I don't want to die. They circled in from opposite sides, just like they'd planned. John pushed through the brush first, and froze. A guy, maybe 20 years old, was lying on his side in shredded clothing, clutching his mangled leg. A bear trap had clamped around his knee like a giant metal jaw. The flesh was torn to ribbons, bone exposed. The wound was already infected. The smell hit like a punch. Next to him lay an empty backpack and a smashed GPS tracker. Jesus, Mark muttered, stepping up behind. He winced but didn't look away. How's he even alive? He won't be for long, John said, crouching next to the guy. You've got sepsis. You've lost more blood than your body can replace. You've got maybe half a day left. The kid whimpered and tried to move, then screamed in pain. I don't want to, please. He reached for John. Take me. Get me to the next zone. There's no time, John said. We've got a route. If we stop, a hunter, or another runner, will catch us. Please. Mark looked away, his fists clenched. Everything about him screamed that he couldn't just walk away from this. We can't help, John repeated, firmer now. Let's move. They stepped back. Then, Hunter! They're here! Runner's here! The kid's voice tore through the trees behind them. What the hell is he doing? Mark spun. He's dying, John said quietly. And dying men have nothing left to lose. He's gonna get us killed, Mark growled. John pulled the slide back on his pistol. No words, just a look. Stay here. He walked back through the brush, pushed the leaves aside. Silence. Mark stood near the road, staring at the ground. His fingers still gripped the knife, but they were trembling. Less than a minute passed before John re-emerged. He didn't say a word, just nodded toward the path and kept walking. Mark followed. They walked in silence. Mark didn't ask. John didn't explain. Between them, a quiet understanding had settled, about the things you sometimes have to do, and the fact that some of them should never be spoken aloud. Chapter 7. The Red Button. They walked in silence, every step sinking into the dirt like it didn't want to be remembered. After what had happened with the dying runner, neither of them felt like talking. The quiet stretched between them like syrup, thick, heavy, and burning from the inside. Mark lagged a few steps behind, head down. His hand was buried in his pocket, fingers nervously rolling a small plastic object between them. The red button, the same one they'd found in the first supply drop. It had been burning a hole in his palm ever since. He'd thought about tossing it more than once, and changed his mind every time. Now, after everything, it felt like the only piece of control he had left, the only way to influence anything at all. John, Mark finally said, breaking the silence. We've been walking forever. It's almost dark. We don't have a real plan. We're just guessing. I'm pressing it. John glanced over at him. You sure? What have I got to lose? If it's a bomb, at least it'll be quick. If not, maybe it's something useful. Just try not to explode, John muttered without slowing. Mark pulled out the button and pressed it slowly. Click. Beep. A notification popped up on the GPS screen. Points of interest marked within a 15-kilometer radius. This data will self-delete in 10 minutes. No way, Mark breathed. They stopped. John was already pulling out the map display, fingers moving fast. Here, he pointed. A crate, 300 meters. Looks like 30 more spread out. And this looks like a shelter, permanent structure. And that, Mark's voice cracked as he pointed. Hunter, behind us, 6 clicks out. Silence. He's tracking us? Doesn't matter. We've got less than 10 minutes to grab what we can and vanish. Head for the shelter. They ran. The first crate was practically beneath their feet, hidden near a dried-up stream. John ripped it open. Inside, a water flask, a ration bar, a vacuum-sealed packet of coffee. Not the worst drop, he muttered, breathing hard. I'd kill for coffee right now, Mark managed, half joking. Hold that thought, John said, already checking the compass. They marked 4 more crates on their route, but didn't stop. Spending the night out in the open with a hunter behind them would be suicide. Still, they managed to grab 2 more. One was empty, the other held a can of bug spray. The sun dipped low as they neared the marked shelter. At first, it looked like just a mound, then branches, then a camo tarp. It wasn't until they were right on top of it that John realized it was a van completely camouflaged with cloth, grass, and fallen leaves, nearly invisible in the woods. A shelter, John whispered, or a trap. He walked up to the door and pulled, locked. Maybe someone's inside, Mark offered. Then we're screwed, John answered dryly. He knocked. Silence. They circled the van for 5 minutes, searching. No sound, no sign of life. John pulled out the universal fob he'd taken from the fallen hunter and clicked it. Nothing. "Try yours," he said, turning to Mark. Mark, exhausted, shrugged and pulled the red button from his pocket. Pressed it. Click. The door opened. Mark lit up, but John immediately raised his pistol and dropped into a firing stance. "Might still be a trap," he muttered. "Back up." He grabbed a rock, lobbed it inside. No reaction. Cautiously he crept forward and peeked in. Darkness. Silence. "Clear," he finally said. Mark exhaled with relief and climbed in. The inside was sparse but functional. A metal bunk with a foam pad, a med kit with gauze and antiseptic, some shelves with scattered trash, and a plastic mug someone had left behind. "How do we sleep?" Mark asked, staring at the single bed. "We don't. Not both of us. One sleeps. One sits by the door. I'll take first watch. You lie down." "No argument?" "You're 3 days in. You're running on fumes. I got this." "All right." Mark barely had time to kick his shoes off before collapsing onto the mattress. Within a minute, he was out cold. John sat at the door, pistol in his lap. The van was unexpectedly quiet. No wind, no crickets. Just that dead, ringing silence. The kind where every thought echoes like a gunshot. Chapter 8. Miscalculation. The shelter was silent. Too silent. No forest sounds, no damp air. Just the low metallic hum from the sealed door and the steady rhythm of Mark's breathing as he slept on the bunk. John sat near the exit, pistol resting on his lap, eyes fixed on the floor. At first, there were thoughts. Then, just emptiness. And then, sleep. He never felt it coming. His body made the call for him. A loud kind of silence, crushing. John jolted awake, instinct snapping him upright. Gun in hand, still quiet. Mark was curled up under the blanket, softly snoring. Out cold. "Shit," John muttered, rubbing the stiffness from his neck. His back ached like he'd spent the night tied to a tree. To be fair, some of the previous nights weren't much better. He checked the watch. U3:17. "Missed my shift," he hissed through clenched teeth. "Damn lucky we're still alive." He dug into his pack, pulled out a water bottle and poured in the instant coffee powder they'd looted from a crate. Gave it a shake. A cloudy, lukewarm sludge. Looked like dirty dishwater. But right then, it might as well have been liquid gold. He sat on the floor, sipping the brew, staring at the map. The GPS showed their trail so far. 210 kilometers in 2 days. "We're almost through Zone 2, he mumbled. "Almost doesn't count." By sunrise, he woke Mark. "Hey, up. Time to go. You slept like a 5-star baby." "Ugh. Already?" Mark blinked, bleary-eyed. "Felt like I just closed my eyes. It's almost 4. If we're gonna make it, we need to move. Third zone's under 60 clicks away, but without transport, we're toast." "I'm not expecting to make it," Mark grumbled, pulling on his boots. "I just don't want to die." "You want to hide in bushes forever, starving, dehydrated, with a bullseye painted on your back?" Mark didn't answer, just gave a slow nod and quietly started packing up. They stepped out of the van. John locked the door behind them with a soft click from the same button. Smart, Mark noted. No beep, no noise, just shuts. If someone finds it, they won't get in without the key. Or they'll waste hours trying, and right now, every minute matters. They broke into a light jog. The sun was just starting to hit the treetops. The air was cool and damp, pine needles crunching beneath their feet, mist clinging low to the ground. After about 20 kilometers, they heard a voice. "Hey, you there, please, help." A woman. They froze. Across the field, near the edge of the forest, stood a lone figure. She was waving both arms, yelling like she wanted to be heard for miles. Only her outline was visible, her face lost in the shadows. "I don't like this," John whispered. "Looks like a trap," Mark agreed. "No, it is a trap. No sane person would scream like that in these woods, not with a hunter out there." "So, we go around?" "Too risky. If we're already spotted, circling could expose us even more." He paused, eyes narrowed. "We need to hit first." Chapter 9. Ambush. The woman stood at the edge of the clearing, waving her arms and shouting, "Hey, over here, I'm not a threat." Her voice sounded almost genuine, almost. John and Mark crouched behind a wall of brush. "If this isn't a trap," John muttered, "I'll eat my boot." "Why is she alone?" Mark whispered. "Where's the rest of them?" "Behind her, or flanking, waiting to pounce." They moved off the path, melted deeper into the undergrowth, and waited. A few minutes later, their suspicion was confirmed. 4 figures emerged from the tree line. One was riding an old mountain bike. "There's the act," John scoffed. "Girl plays bait, boys set the snare." "What's the move?" Mark asked. "Classic play. You're the decoy. Step out into the open, make them commit. I'll circle behind and hit 'em from the rear." Mark swallowed hard, then nodded and stepped out into the clearing, hands raised. He walked slowly, like he hadn't spotted a thing. As he moved, 3 figures began creeping out of the brush in a loose arc. John, already prone in the leaves, waited. He had the pistol up, aimed at the biggest guy, the one holding the crossbow. "Hold it," one of them barked at Mark. "Who are you?" "Same as you," Mark said. "Heading for Zone 3. "Where's the other one?" "The other?" Mark echoed, then nodded behind them. "There." John stepped out of the brush, slowly, no sudden moves, gun visible, but lowered. "We just need the bike," he said calmly. "No blood." One of them, a kid with a buzz cut, snapped the crossbow up. John fired first. Thud. The bolt hit the dirt. The kid dropped to his knees, grabbing his shoulder. "Next one, who moves, gets one in the head," John said flatly. "You're insane," the girl shrieked. "He's alive," John cut her off. "As long as he doesn't move that arm, we're not your enemy, but we're in a hurry." He stepped forward, gun low but firm, not aimed at anyone in particular, but his eyes said enough. "Don't test me." "Where's the bike?" Silence. Then someone muttered, barely audible. "By the tree, left of the trail." John nodded to Mark. "Get it." As Mark rolled the bike back, John addressed the group again. "I wouldn't follow us if I were you. There's a hunter tracking us. Maybe 5 clicks out, maybe closer." "You're lying," someone spat. "Maybe. Wanna find out?" No answer. Mark returned with the bike. John backed away, still holding the pistol. Then he turned. No goodbyes, no final threats. They left, walking backward at first. No bullets chased them, but the tension never left. "What's the point of having a bike if you're not riding it?" Mark asked, panting as he pushed it beside him. "You want me to ride off and leave you behind?" "No," Mark said after a pause. "I wouldn't last alone, and I don't want to die by myself." John didn't respond, just gave a small nod. "Then don't talk," he added. "We both get it. Talking won't change anything." By nightfall, they reached a wide-open field. On the far horizon, a black concrete wall rose from the ground, the entrance to Zone 3. "We're lit up like a storefront window," Mark muttered. "Perfect place to get killed." "Then don't stop moving." If you made it all the way to the end, then you're exactly the kind of person I'm looking for. Hit that subscribe button. It really means a lot to me. I hope I can keep bringing you more stories, to make you smile, or maybe, to scare you.